This week on NintenDomain, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of WCW vs. NWO World Tour.
And I give an elbow drop of a review.
I fly off the top rope.
Welcome to episode 98 of NintenDomain. We are your hosts. I'm Trey Glacier Johnson.
I'm Blades of Jereme.
I'm Hollywood John Knitter.
Hollywood. And we are here to talk to you about Nintendo stuff, Nintendo-related stuff, past, present, future, and beyond on NintenDomain Podcast. Let's start out the show how we normally do. Last week was Black Friday, so I'm sure you guys actually bought some shit. But what did you guys get this week? And also, what have you played this week? I should always ask you that because we never really mention what we've been playing. But who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first because I don't have very much. Like I think Worms came out after the last podcast, right?
Yeah.
Or was Worms the last podcast?
No, Worms came out after the last podcast.
So I bought Worms. I did buy that. That was probably my big purchase of the week. But then I also went to Disc Replay and purchased the topic of the week, and then I got Blades of Steel. Hence my name. I bought Blades of Steel on the NES for $2.99 before tax, so it was really cheap.
And how much was WCW or NWO World Tour?
Well, that one was 99 cents, and they had several copies.
Rip off. I mean, no, it's totally worth more than that. Yeah.
No, I was happy to drive out. Like, the real reason, well, not the real reason. I mean, obviously I wanted the topic of the week, but I needed another AV plug for the way I have everything set up. I needed one more plug for my N64 because I had one for my Super Nintendo and my GameCube. I needed one more. So I went and bought that too. So I spent the most on the AV plug. I spent $5.99 on that.
Yeah, you made out. $30 for Worms plus still under 40 though, right?
It ended up being less than $10 at Disc Replay for my AV plug, my Blades of Steel, and WCW. And yeah, so that was cheap. And then I spent $30 on Worms. I think it's worth it. It's a good game.
How much have you played of Worms, by the way?
None since the day we tried to play.
Same here. It's kind of one of those games that I bought for $30 and I haven't really touched. It's like I bought it and
it's there. It's ready to go. My friend was over yesterday. I was hanging out with him and we ended up playing a lot of other games, but he likes Worms. Like we could have played Worms conceivably. That would have been a good party game.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it to Jess. I was like, hey, we should play this Worms game because she's never heard of it. And I was like, let's play it sometime. But we've still been playing Mario Party Top 100, which I beat the single player on that finally. I mean, it's not really that long, but I have all the 100 games now unlocked for that game.
Cool.
There's kind of a boss mode. It's basically the boss mode from Mario Party 5, but still, there is a boss in there. But I made it all the way through the single player with one life left and never died all the way.
But yeah, I actually did go to a store, not Black Friday, but Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. I think I mentioned last week I didn't really have plans for Thanksgiving because my whole family skipped town and I had to work, so I just hung out by myself on Thanksgiving, and I decided at one point I'd been invited to somebody's party, but it was getting kind of late, and I didn't want to go anymore, Yeah. I was like, I'm just going to make myself some food, but I didn't have any food, so I decided to go to Walmart, which was a dumb idea. It was 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, and they had just opened up for the start of the Black Friday thing.
Oh, were there people in line, Thursday night even?
Well, they had already opened the door when I got there, So people were already in the store. But there were seriously people with double or triple carts full of shit, blocking the aisles, just standing there.
But that's still Thanksgiving night, and they're already out there? I mean, I guess.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
The whole parking lot was full. I had to park in the very back corner of it.
Well, and you're just I'm just here for some food.
You couldn't go through the main aisle to check out. You had to stand within the clothing that was across the aisle and stand in those, and then you would get ushered through the checkout from there. And then even for the self checkout, there was an employee working at every one of them that would ring you up at the self checkout.
Oh wow.
So there was just a shit ton of employees there, and they all looked super miserable. I mean, I don't blame them. And they were ringing you up, and everybody just scoffed at me. They're like, you came to buy groceries? What's your problem, pretty much?
Like dude, I was hungry. Shut up, man.
You chose the worst possible time to do that. Like, I bought, like, some potatoes and a steak and, like,
and a TV.
Some, like, like, I think I had a gallon of milk, and I wanted to buy some eggs, but I couldn't get to the eggs because there was, like, a bunch of DVDs in front of the eggs. Like, the whole, like, grocery section had a bunch of, like, DVD stands, like, full of Black Friday, like, Blu-rays, and there was, like, a lot of video games.
It's like, buy these games.
That's what I want to buy.
It's like, buy these movies for $2 instead of eggs. Buy Medea.
Right.
Boo. Get it.
There were TVs everywhere. Like, literally every department just had, like, TVs on the floor, like, in stacks.
Oh, jeez.
Just like everybody just wants to buy TVs for Christmas, and there's just shit ton of TVs everywhere. So anyway, I actually was only in line for like 10 minutes, and I was able to get out of there. But I got to see the Black Friday madness sort of firsthand, and like you said, I was shocked. Like, so many people were there. Like, really? Why aren't you just like laying at home, like watching football or whatever people do on Thanksgiving? Like, why are you here buying all these shitty TVs?
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me that like you went in there to get food and you ended up with like 2 TVs and
No.
10 copies of Medea's Halloween Part
Once
1.
I got there, I actually considered like leaving, like before I even, like I parked and I considered just pulling back out and leaving. But once I like walked through the door, I was like, all right, well, I have to buy my groceries now because I'm here.
I'm sure there were were there other grocery stores that were open that you could have gone to that didn't have a
I was already there.
Amounts of people? Yeah. Trying to
No,
buy
I don't
whatever.
think there were actually.
Did you go look for like, did you go check the video game aisle to see like if they had like SNES classics or anything?
There.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere for Black Friday, but I did order shit online. But yeah, that's crazy.
I went to Black Friday at Target and I got another SNES Classic for my brother-in-law.
Do you have your whole family like covered now that you've bought like 10 SNES Classics? Are you good covered, or do you need to buy more of them?
4.
I mean,
so I'm good. I did my part.
Yeah.
You have the most out of all of us now. You're at 4. I'm at 3.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm at 1.
That's my last one, though, I promise.
I'm the winner because I have 1.
Beyond that, it's a problem. So, yeah, I'm glad I got one for my brother-in-law. You know, he really wanted one, and you know, I'm giving it to him and his family. His son is going to be 2 years old, turning 2 years old this year. So it'll be something that they can play together. And
he'll play a lot of that.
I'm glad they finally got it.
I mean,
he can't play. Yeah, he's only 2.
That's what I was.
Well,
here's
the thing, though.
About, yeah.
See that's the thing. So it didn't immediately dawn on me to buy one for my nephew, but after the SNES Classic came out and after I got everything, she sent me a video of him playing my Miss Pac-Man machine that I left at my sister's house. And apparently that's the ritual now. Before he goes to bed every night, he has to play Miss Pac-Man.
The giant arcade game that we
he's
tried to get.
He's less than 2.
You still have that?
He's less than 2. And she sent me the most adorable video of him playing Miss Pac-Man, and he's yelling in his little 2-year-old voice, "Go get him! Go get him!"
Have you given the story about that?
Adorable,
about that Miss Pac-Man machine yet on the show, John? About how you like randomly found it?
I didn't know you had a Miss Pac-Man machine.
Yeah,
I do.
It's a pretty ridiculous story.
I had no idea.
I do. So to divert for just a second here, we're telling a story about 2007, walking home from work at night, and I decide for whatever reason just to go a different way, to take a shortcut through an alley. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I'm sure glad that I did.
Where were you? In Chicago? Or?
In Chicago. In Chicago. This was about 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night. I take a shortcut through an alley behind a bar, and I see this guy wheeling out a Miss Pac-Man full-size stand-up arcade machine. I'm like, what is he doing with that? It's 10:30 at night, and he's in the alley, and whatever. So I'm just I walk past, and I keep an eye as I'm walking away. I'm like, no, he can't be. No. And he really was. He was leaving it by the dumpster. So I immediately turned right around and said, wait a second, sir, are you throwing this away? And he said, yeah, it stopped working, and, I don't really care to try to fix it. You can have it if you want. I'm like, well, yeah, I have no idea how I'm going to get it back, but I got to make this happen, right? And so he goes into the bar and he comes back out with the manual and the key for the quarter bin.
Oh my God.
Like, gives me the full thing, right? I have no idea how I'm going to get it home. I don't even own a car. And so I'm like, I know somebody who would understand this situation and would help me out. I called Trey immediately. Said, Trey, you're not going to believe this. I need you to help me out. This guy is giving me a full-size Miss Pac-Man arcade machine. Can you help me to get this home somehow?
Yeah. Well, and I drove over there with Conan, my roommate, right now.
Yeah.
We drove over there with whatever my crappy ass car was at the time. Was that? No, that had to have been
No, I think somebody had a truck, wasn't it?
No, that was later. Because first I drove over there with my crappy ass car, which I think was the Taurus still. It had to be pre-Saturn. Yeah, it was way before. I think it was before Saturn. When was it? 2007?
This was maybe 2007. No, yeah, I think it was 2000. It was 2007 or 2008.
Oh, okay. Maybe I did have my Saturn then. Anyway, I drove over there. I thought that maybe somehow I would be able to get it get it like partially in the trunk or something. Yeah,
of course.
And maybe we could drive it, like I didn't realize how heavy it was, and it would have never fit in there. But my ex-girlfriend's roommate had a truck, and that's how we ended up getting it home. I called her, and she came over. And that's how we got it back. But it was one of those, and I remember you told me, because it had didn't have little wheels on the back of the arcade machine.
And a little inept wheels on the back.
Yeah, and you're like, you're like, I'm going to roll this home if I have to. That's what you told me. And
I was so going to roll it 2 miles home if I had to do it.
That would have taken so long, but thankfully, somebody else had a truck.
That thing is worth a couple of grand, I'm sure, at least.
Pac-Man? Yeah. Well,
it's got to be worth at least $2,000 to $3,000, right?
And all you had to do was fix the plug, right? Fix the plug for the wall.
So to continue the story, we got it back eventually after a couple hours to my apartment. I lived on, it was the 3rd floor, so there was no way I was getting it up there. It was just no conceivable way. But we did have a garage, so I parked it in the garage and just held on to it for a long time, considering, not really knowing if it was functional or what was wrong with it or anything. About another year and a half later, I moved to a different apartment, and when I moved there, the last thing that we brought into the house was the Miss Pac-Man machine. So me and my roommate Otis, we spent a good hour trying to get it up. We were on the 1.5 floor. It wasn't the 2nd floor, but it was a 1.5. So we spent a good hour just trying to get it up the stairs around the curb. And finally we did it. We were so tired by the end. I just parked it there. And a couple days later, after I got settled, I called my friend Chris, who was really good at computers and everything. I said, Chris, I got this Miss Pac-Man machine.
Was it inside your apartment at that point?
It was inside the apartment at that point.
Okay.
And I was just so excited to have it inside, not in a garage. I thought it was a cool decoration, even if it was broken or whatever. Worst come to worst, I got a cool decoration, right? I called Chris up, said, come over, we'll make a day of it. We'll get a pizza or whatever and fix this arcade machine if we can. And so Chris came over, we popped it open, and first of all, inside there's just dust, more dust than I've ever seen in my life, thick pillows of dust.
30 years of dust?
30 years, yeah. It had never been cleaned. So we cleaned it out, and after we cleaned out all the dust, immediately Chris realized the problem. He looked at the board, and there was a chip that had slightly popped out. He popped it back in, and we heard the monitor buzz on, and then there was a reset button. We thought, well, we played with it for a little bit. We're like, oh, man, the monitor came on, something's happening. What's happening? Finally, I remember there's a reset button, hit the reset button. The lights went on, the sounds of Miss Pac-Man came on, and it was just glory, glory, hallelujah. I have a working Miss Pac-Man arcade machine in my apartment for free.
I thought you had to rebuild the cord too, because I thought that was broken.
You're reminding me of that. Yeah. I think I did have to replace a power cord.
Because I remember when I picked it up, I thought the plug was broken off of it, so you just had to resolder it or something. And I thought that
there was a stage that I forgot. There was a power cord that I had to replace, and I thought that was maybe the issue the guy was talking to. He was very specific about the problem, and I replaced the power cord, and I was disappointed that it didn't just pop right back on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I didn't hear the second.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. But this, me and Chris fixing it up. That was I can't believe it. It was a long shot. It was such a long shot to go from finding it by chance in the alley to you, helping me out and making it happen, getting it back to the apartment and then getting it up the stairs. And finally I had a Miss Pac-Man arcade machine. So I'm very, very grateful to you for your role that you played in that. And so is my nephew, because he wouldn't have his Miss Pac-Man arcade machine that he enjoys if he didn't help me out with that. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. I didn't even know that you still had that thing.
I still have it. Yeah, I carried it back to Michigan, and I had it at the house that I had in Michigan for a while, but when it was time to come back to California, I really tried.
Tried to get it to California with you?
To get it to California, but there was just no conceivable way.
Yeah.
And so it was the last thing that I did before I left for Michigan was I drove it to my sister's house and said, "Here, can you hang on to this for a while?" And yes, now it's over there.
Yeah, indefinitely. But hey, if you can get it up the stairs or wherever they have to put it, then it's not bad. Just having
That's right. That's right. So that's the Miss Pac-Man arcade machine story.
Yeah.
All free.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't hear the part about the chip and all that, but still, man, that's ridiculous. Free Pac-Man machine. So
Miss Pac-Man machine. Now it's being enjoyed by my little nephew Owen.
Yeah.
And
who's actually wasn't even born yet when that machine was made.
No, not even. I don't think I was born when that machine was made. And it was great to see that video. I'll share it with you guys later, but to see that video of him just enjoying it, not being conscious of how wonderful video games look nowadays, just to see him enjoying Miss Pac-Man and the fact that he has to play it every night before he goes to bed. I was like, man, I gotta do what I can to get this Super Nintendo Classic, because he's got to have a Super Nintendo. And my brother-in-law, Super Nintendo was, I believe, his favorite system. He likes RPGs and everything. So yeah, I'm glad they finally got one, and I can't wait to bring it home and deliver it for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be as cool as a Miss Pac-Man arcade machine, but hey, you actually had to pay money for this one this time. So
I did have to pay money for this one, and I had to get up and be at Target at 6 a.m. So my experience was not so bad, though. I was one of the first people there. I went with my roommate, and he got one too. And we had only 20 people in line at Target for some reason. Not that many people were waiting outside for Black Friday.
Oh yeah. Supposedly from what I've seen online, like Super Nintendo Classics are all over the place, but I haven't looked for one since they came out. Like I really have not been out looking at game stuff. Like normally whenever I go to a store like Target or whatever, I always pass through the game thing, but I just haven't. I have not been to a game shop in a while, weirdly enough. So I haven't even looked for one. So I'm wondering how available they are.
I take a peek in there every so often.
Yeah.
I've never seen one since the day of launch, and then since last Friday.
Yeah. I mean, I get everything digitally now, so I don't really have the need to go to video game places, but I haven't seen anything in a while. It seems to be everyone who wants to get one has got one. I haven't really heard much sob stories about not getting one. So.
Oh yeah, I've got coworkers that don't really give that much of a care about video games that have one, that have been like, well, that's what we wanted. We wanted that.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's what
classic edition, and they have it. Yeah.
That's what they should be. I mean, that's what it should be for Nintendo. It should be for the people who don't regularly play games, but used to play Super Nintendo. They should be able to get one of these easily, and then Nintendo will make a lot of money off it.
And if nothing else, there's that chance that they will get hooked on video games and want to buy the Switch or whatever.
Yeah, they'll be like, man, this Super Mario game's cool, but I wish
Which
that
I
it
will
was
say
3D.
A lot of my coworkers are also talking about how much they want the Switch. The Switch is mainstream popular.
Totally mainstream.
It's got to be the number one holiday gift.
Oh no, it is. Hands down. I mean, it has to be.
Like it was on Black Friday sale for full price, but it was still
full price, right?
Well, it's not going to be
Friday deal.
Yeah, it's not going to go under, but it's still like a hot item. It's probably what everybody wants for Christmas. I mean, why not? It's a fucking handheld console together.
What
else would you ever want?
People love it. It's Nintendo, and it's novel because you can take it with you, and people just like it because it's the Switch, and people talk about the Switch, so they want to switch. But we early adopters.
We knew everything from the beginning.
Yes, we early adopters. I'll go with that.
We knew.
Well, two of us. But
I still think you're an early adopter, John. I mean, you bought it before
I'm an early adopter in spirit. Yeah.
You bought it before the holiday when everyone starts to watch shit.
I mean, if you buy it in the first year, you're an early adopter, right?
I think so.
Even though it came out like at the beginning of the year.
Probably about May or June before it really started to snowball with a bunch of cool stuff.
Well, I think it's because of the indies, like just how much better games have been. Because it seems to be like if you put anything on the eShop right now within reason, you're going to make some money. That seems to be what's going on right now. Like in that area, cause a lot of like indies that haven't sold shit, like have put their game on the Switch and have sold a ton, so it seems to be like at this point in time, everybody's kind of just trying to rush to be like, hey, what can we put on the Switch? Because whatever we're putting on there is selling, so let's fucking throw some shit out.
SteamWorld Dig 2 came out on Steam, but I think that it was like an exponential number of Switch copies were sold more.
Yeah, no, that's what I've heard, like people have done. That indies have done a lot better on Switch than they have on Steam or any other platform. Probably because there's not as many, there are a lot of games on there now, but it's like a little bit more straightforward, I guess. It's like less confusing, or I don't know. I mean, is Steam kind of messed up? I don't really order anything on there, but I hear it can be a little confusing to navigate through. Compared to like the eShop, how everything's just kind of like basic in there, Jeremy.
I think Steam is not confusing, but you have to be a computer gamer, so you're also targeting a different audience with a console.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have a lot more people just going through that. So if they have chosen to use digital purchases at any point, which they probably have if they got Minecraft, like everyone wants Minecraft, then they know they've already got it set up to get whatever. So I don't think Steam's necessarily confusing, but you have to be a PC gamer and have it set up initially.
But the eShop is a little bit more, but the eShop is more simple is what I was saying. Like it's, I know there's a lot of games on there, but it's probably easier for people to find the games because there's not as much, I guess, as Steam is what I was saying, possibly.
Steam's pretty easy to navigate, but
as to why they're selling more why the indies seem to be selling more on Switch than Steam or PS4 or Xbox One.
I think because
the novelty of the Switch is a big.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also that
indies tend to be more bite-sized games, which is just.
Well, I think everybody wants to play it on
suited to the handheld versus something where you sit down on your PC and get ready to play a game for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just I think what it boils down to really is just like what game is there that you don't really want to have portable or that you don't want to have on the go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a game that you can get on the Switch, get it on the Switch because then I've come around to the Switch for sure. I mean, it's just like so easy to play, you could just, it never really turns off. Like there's no like booting and whatever. Like I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles X last night on the Wii U and the Wii U is fucking slow as fuck. Like I forgot how slow that system is. Like for it to go from one thing to another. And
it's hella slow.
And like
it seems like they paid attention to
the controller
about that on Switch.
And like the screen on the control pad is like super blurry and it kind of feels like a toy because it's plasticky, and the Switch is like way more like
sexy,
durable and lean and whatever, But it's like most importantly, it's super quick to get into. Like I love that it's like on all the time, pretty much. I mean, mine is like I rarely turn it off unless it like fucks up and I need to, But you have the sleep button, so mine's like on sleep at all times. But right now, I could just in like 2 seconds just pop it on and play Doom, which is on already. And I think that's what I like about it is it's like so easy to just get into. Like if you just have a second and you want to play a game, you'll be up in a couple. It's very much like the way the 3DS worked, except quicker, I guess. Even.
I mean, my friend that was over last night, Dan, that was playing different consoles with me. I booted up Mario to demonstrate the Elgato and how I had it hooked up, and he was just like dumbfounded. He's like, "Wait, when did you turn your Switch on?" I was like, "I just did."
Yeah.
He's like, "But you're playing Mario." I'm like, "Yeah, you just play it.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you turn it on." And he was like dumbfounded by that.
Well, you don't really turn it on. Does he not have one, I take it?
No, but he has an Xbox One, which I think does the same thing. That's why I was surprised. I think it pretty much does the same thing.
What, it goes
maybe
to sleep?
Not as quickly.
You can take it around?
No, you can't take it around, but it goes into sleep mode and you can like boot it straight up.
Yeah, I mean you can do that
you're playing.
You can do that with the PlayStation 4 also. You can do that, but it still doesn't seem as novel, I guess, as just like hitting a button and being like boom in the game, I guess you can do that with the PS4 and make it kind of quick, but it's still, I don't know, it still seems so novel that it's just like, is the Switch.
Well, the Switch isn't
like
like humming when you turn it on, and like
it's not like
it's not like pissed at you that you shut it down wrong. Like the PlayStation's always like pissed off at me that I shut it down wrong.
Oh yeah, where you get that warning, and sometimes well, the PS3 one, it would always like it'd have to like do this thing where it like looks through the hard drive again before it'll restart, and like that takes a while. And if you turn it off during that, you lose everything in your hard drive. I did that one time. Sucks.
Wow.
Don't do that.
Yeah, the Switch, that never happens with the Switch because you're not going to shut it down wrong. Like when you put it in sleep mode, it's sleeping. It's not dependent on the system power to keep it in sleep mode. It's sleeping on the battery.
Yeah, and you can keep it in sleep mode for a while, without
several. I mean, I've never run across, my Switch has never died on me. The whole time I've had it. I've had it since March.
Yeah,
I've never had the battery die while I was playing it.
Mine hasn't either, but I also haven't like played it on long periods of time without being able to charge it. So it's so I haven't really run into that. But I mean, I've played it for a while and it's gotten down to like past half or whatever. But I mean, it hasn't been enough to where it's gotten down that low. But yeah, it's great. Totally. Yeah, we totally got sidetracked from the Black Friday to that. But the Switch is a great system.
Probably the hottest Black Friday item.
It's a good thing to be excited about.
Toys and stuff go.
Yeah. So you guys did was that your only purchase for the week, John? Was the Super Nintendo Classic?
I also, sort of related, I bought a microphone for this podcast, so I don't sound like I'm in a tin can anymore.
Is it? Do you sound like you're in a tin can? No.
I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I think it's okay.
Currently I record this on my Apple headphone things, and it doesn't sound very good. So I went and bought a Blue Yeti, which it was on sale on Monday, down from $150 to $90.
Oh, Cyber Monday?
So Cyber Monday, yep.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
That comes tomorrow, and
for sure.
Next week you'll hear me as I am.
Yeah, that's a good deal because it comes with the whole everything you need to just plug and go.
Plug it in and go. Right.
Right. You don't need a cord and all that you have to buy separately with other microphones.
So that's what I liked.
My Black Friday stuff that I got is I ended up spending actually a lot more than I should have, I think, for Black Friday because I'm kind of broke now. Because I wanted to get Resident Evil Revelations 2, and I'm kind of, I could barely get Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so I held off on that one, which I still want to get it, but I have to be in the future. I wanted to stream it tomorrow, but that's not in the cards. But I did, so I ended up getting Worms, same as Jereme. I haven't played it that much, unfortunately. I did a quick stream of it last week for Thanksgiving. Played a little bit of just the regular tutorial mode and the single player mode. But it's Worms, there's the WMD, there's basically rides in there. There's helicopters you can fly and there's mechs that you can pilot, stuff like that. I got that far to see that. And, I also got, I got those records, the rare records, which I was talking about.
Nice.
Which is cool because what was cool about that is right when I pre-ordered them, they sent me the digital copy of it. So I have it on my computer already. So I've already listened to all of it. I listened to the Conquer's Bad Fur Day and I listened to to Battletoads Battlemaniacs. I just wanted to know what it sounded like. I wanted to know if it's the actual, I get weird about this about buying records. I want it to be the actual song that's on the game. I don't want it to be a different version,
live instrument version or
sometimes
something.
you get a different version.
Right.
The Earthworm Jim one's kind of like that too, where it's a different version than that. But that's understandable because they wrote it a certain way and then they took it down to make it able to be on the Super Nintendo or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure because I was one of my biggest fears. I was afraid that the Conker's Bad Fur Day one, I didn't want it to be the Xbox re-release one. I wanted it to be the 64 one, because I don't know what they did on that version and I don't really care to know ever. I'd rather just remember the 64 one. So I was kind of worried about that, but thankfully it sounds exactly like the 64 that I know and love. I listened to the Mighty Poop song and all that. It sounds the same as the one that I have on my computer that I got from Napster fucking years ago and all that. So yeah, it's legit. So I'm excited about that. That just takes all the worry off of me there. I also bought just as a random purchase, I wanted to get it to play it for my for the WRT Radio Sports episode. But it just got here yesterday, but I got Wade Hickston's Counterpunch. Did you ever hear about that? It's basically like a punch-out game for Game Boy Advance, which I got good reviews on IGN long time ago. It's one of those weird, obscure games that I really wanted to play. It's kind of in the same category as Touch the Dead was, for me. Just a weird-ass game that I read about that I thought would be cool to play that was always in the back of my mind. And I bought it off eBay for cheap.
Counterpunch.
Wade Hickston's Counterpunch.
I think I'm remembering the game now. Yeah.
If you listen, it's basically like Punch-Out. It's like Super Punch-Out. It's like cartoon character boxing game. It's it's hand-drawn, beautifully animated and all that. It has a cool soundtrack too. There's a song on it on the new WRT radio if you listen to that. But I just got it. I haven't really had time to play it, but I just got it today. But that's another thing that I got. So I think that's pretty much it for the most part. That's stuff that I bought. Do you guys want to talk about what we've been playing, or do you want to go to the news?
For what I've been playing, I played Super Mario Odyssey some more this week. I'm on the darker side level.
Did you beat it?
That part that I was telling you that I was stuck at?
Yeah.
I beat that part and then I immediately died.
Oh God, that sucks.
So I got a little bit further.
I wonder if that happened to me too. I got past the part where you have to where you're on a platform or whatever, and then I got to the next part and I immediately died. But I did actually get to that spot again and then also immediately died. It still tricked me based on how it worked.
I'm finding
I still haven't gotten there.
I've played so much of that level. I've 5 hours of that level. It's like muscle memory.
It is up until that point. It's I'll find myself, I'll throw that on and then I'll be watching YouTube at the same time and just playing it. And I've gotten to the point where I'm barely looking at the screen. I'm getting through the first few parts.
Right. All those parts, there are parts that I was like, man, this is impossible. How am I going to get past this? Now I'm barely paying attention to it because I've played it 400 times.
Yeah.
And then I get to the next part, and then that's the impossible part.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that sucks.
Hopefully next week I will conquer it, or maybe I'll just get I'll just beat that one part and then I'll die. I hope that by next week I will have the next part finished, and after that, and I'll probably just die on that part too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you planning on getting Xenoblade Chronicles 2? I know I ask you this like every week, but I figured are you waiting on that one, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna wait on that one just because I got enough games already, and I just bought the microphone too, so I'm just gonna slow it down a little bit. I bought the Super Nintendo Classic again. I'm gonna wait on it.
Okay.
It looks interesting.
Well, I'm excited for our episode next week because we have a lot to live up to because our Xenoblade Chronicles X episode was like our first episode that did pretty well or did, better than most. It's like still one of our top 5 most downloaded episodes. So it's we have to try to outdo that somehow. Because I guess people really love that episode. Either that or it was a big game. So make sure, sound interested next week.
All right.
Or something. And do some research.
I'll do some research. I'll be the sounding board. And you guys can tell me all about this game and I'll ask questions.
You'll be the one that we have to convince. I mentioned earlier that I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles last night, like when talking about like the differences between the Wii U and the Switch and all that. But I started playing Xenoblade Chronicles X last night, and I forgot how much I like that game. Like I think that game's great, and I'm super excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But I'm wondering, I don't know, there's a couple things I wanted to change. Like for one thing, the font size on Xenoblade Chronicles X is the worst. It's like so tiny that I can't really read it on the TV or like off the Switch pad because the Switch pad, or not Switch pad, off the Wii U pad because it's so like blurred. So I hope they change that. But the battle system works so well on that game. Like I really, really like it a lot. So I'm super excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
I just pre-purchased it to preload it.
Oh, okay. I preloaded it a few days ago, and just like I was saying, just from playing through Xenoblade Chronicles X again, I'm like so excited to play the new one. Like I hope it looks because I think Xenoblade Chronicles X still looks super fucking pretty. Like just flying around in the mech and like looking at all the mountains and shit that are on that. It's like, man, this game looks fucking gorgeous. And I'm gonna miss those mechs, and I'm gonna miss that weird ass soundtrack for Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
I don't think I'll miss the character models themselves, but
you really didn't like the character models of that one. I thought they looked fine on Xenoblade Chronicles X.
They're very uncanny valley.
They're basically getting more anime is what's happening.
Right.
Which I wasn't really that big of a fan of.
Expression and less like realism, which is good.
Yeah, true. Well, there isn't a whole lot of that's one problem with this one, with the Xenoblade Chronicles X one, is there's not a whole lot of story and not a whole lot of characters. It's kind of mostly you just go do a bunch of missions, and there's some stuff that has like some big cutscenes, but it's not really story focused. And even like Monolith themselves said that, that they went for more of a open world, whatever, American style game. And they said that their next game would be more story focused, which is Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Which is a direct sequel to the game that came before.
Yeah, which is the first one, which is story based, more story based. So there's that. But I found out that I'm at like chapter 10, which is like, I think there's 12 chapters total. And that was like the part that I died at and stopped playing. And, but I was able to get around pretty easy on there. I found the equivalent of Doc Brown on Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like there's a guy named Professor B. He's got like white hair. He doesn't look skinny like Doc Brown, but he's supposed to be Doc Brown. Anyway, you buy him a car at some point and he basically turns it ends up looking like the DeLorean that has like the same like engine things in the back or whatever. And, he's gonna go 3,000 years to the future is what he's gonna do. Because like, humanity's like having a hard time surviving, and I guess he thinks if he goes to the future it'll be better or something like that. So there's a whole like side mission thing that you do where you collect parts for his car and then he goes to the future, but he ends up just warping himself to another continent across the map, and you have to go find him there. But I was doing his story, which I thought was pretty funny. But and then randomly somebody mentioned it, or I read it somewhere that there was that it was Doc Brown in there, and I was like, what? Oh yeah, Professor B. Like I didn't even think. Well, I saw the car and I recognized the car, but it was pretty easy for me to jump back into the game. Like I didn't really. It was like one of those friends you haven't seen in a while, but you still can talk whenever you see him. It was cool. I just started playing it and I was like, oh yeah. I mean, it took me a minute to remember where everything was, but I wasn't completely like lost. But I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna try to continue playing it like with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because I'm still determined to beat Xenoblade Chronicles X. I think I have 130 hours into it and I still haven't beat it. Like I looked at my clock and that's what it says on the game. But I've also been leaving it on just so it'll like automatically mine money and all that for me. So there were a couple days where I probably left it on all day. Like I've had it's still been on since yesterday, and I'm just letting it collect the money. It doesn't do a whole lot, actually. You probably make more just from doing side missions, but I don't know. I'm into playing it again. I also started playing Xenoblade Chronicles 1 on 3DS as well, but I think I like X better than 1, just because I think the battle system works better, and like everything's, I love those mechs. Like, I'm really gonna miss those giant mechs in the new game.
Skells,
yeah. Mech Skells. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. I played that, for Thanksgiving, I ended up going to my girlfriend's, Friendsgiving thing, whatever. And, when I got there, like, everybody was like kind of hanging out in the kitchen, and there was like kind of too much people, like, being loud and whatever. Sometimes I like to be away from stuff like that. So I just went and sat in the living room, like, by myself. And they had a cat that just like sat on my lap, and I just sat in there and played Doom, like, until the dinner was ready. So that was pretty awesome. That's my cool Thanksgiving.
Doom till dinner.
Thanksgiving video game story there. I mean, both you guys stayed at home, but it's always good to have a system with you to if you could just sit in a corner and just play it, nobody will bother you. It's always great. To bring to family gatherings or whatever.
It's great to have a system so you're not just draining your battery. You still got your phone battery, but you're playing your games on a portable system. I
it's better than just, I want to sit in a room and just look at Facebook, because that stuff's stupid. I'd rather just look at Doom.
I'd rather look at eviscerating aliens.
Yeah. Well, Doom's probably been my go-to on the Switch because it's so easy to play, and it's just easy to just play a little bit and then stop and play a little bit. It constantly does checkpoints, and it saves every time you do a checkpoint and all that, so if you want to like go out of it and start over again, it's pretty easy to do. But I played Worms for a little bit for the live stream, and then when I got Thanksgiving, I just put on Doom, and it's just been what's been on my system ever since then. And I'll like pick it up and play a little bit of it and then put it down and play a little bit more of it. I'm to the point where I'm on the actual like hell area. So it's kind of just like wave after wave of giant demons, and I'll basically play it for a while and die until I get past one part, and then I'll get a checkpoint, and then I'll try it again and die a bunch. And it's fun. It's super fun. Like, I'm still playing a lot of it.
Checkpoints for good once you get them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They automatically save. So if you quit, you'll come back at that checkpoint. Like, it automatically saves it. So you can like quit the game and go play another game and then come back and do it. And the checkpoints are pretty frequent, so it's pretty rad. But that's what I've been playing for the most part. Aside from the topic of the week, of course. And I played Resident Evil the remake on GameCube for my retro game on Sunday just because I was excited about Resident Evil Revelations 2. Or just Resident Evil in general on the Switch. But that game's still pretty awesome. I still like that game, the GameCube one. The remake of the first one.
It's fantastic, yep.
Yeah, it's still good. There was an HD re-release of that on other systems other than Nintendo, which I thought was such a stab in the back. It's like, we made this for you originally as an exclusive, but now we're gonna release it for every other system other than you. Like, that's like the ultimate fuck you to say from Capcom. But bring it to the Switch is what I'm saying. Take that, put it on the Switch. So that's easy. That made more sense to me than putting Revelations on there. But hey, Capcom.
I'd like to see a Resident Evil collection on the Switch.
Yeah, I'd like to see Resident Evil 0 on there. You remember that game?
Yeah.
I know Jeremy remembers that game. You should do a playthrough of that where you do the reenactment of where you have the two characters like dance together and all that. Cause you can control two of them, There's like the criminal and that was a weird game cause the boss kind of seemed like he's came from Final Fantasy into, Resident Evil cause he had this weird anime get up and he, controlled all these leeches. Do you remember that? These little leeches that like turn into people. But the character looked like he was like Sephiroth's cousin or something like that. Like he had like the big flowing hair and it was weird. It was a strange game. Resident Evil 0 was. It's ridiculous.
Never beat it.
Yeah.
But it is 2 players, so that made it a little more accessible if you wanted to play it with a friend.
Yeah. It was.
I have that game, by accident because I had a friend who had never played Ocarina of Time before, but he had a GameCube, and so I let him borrow my GameCube Zelda disc, the Master Quest disc, in exchange.
Oh, did you lose
that then?
He had
me play the Zero. Yeah, the awful happened. The awful thing that you think happened, it happened.
Oh yeah, that sucks because the disc...
You took a shit on the game?
Yeah.
Early?
I traded the Master Quest disc for Zero inadvertently.
Yeah.
Because we just kind of lost touch with each other, and that was that.
Yep.
So.
Oh, I did the same thing. I traded Eternal Darkness to someone for the Frankenstein collection of movies, and then we never really returned. So I lost Eternal Darkness, but Conan actually gave me his copy, so I do have it again.
Oh, that's good.
But
what really hurt was that was the second time that happened. See, I so loved Ocarina of Time that if I met somebody who had never played it before, I wanted to lend them my copy, right?
And that's
I
how
did
you
that
lose
first
it,
with the actual cartridge in college, freshman year, and the person that I lent it to, they lost it and they have no idea what happened to it. Oh man.
Yep.
So then I heard that my other friend had never played Ocarina of Time before. I said, well, I got this Master Quest disc, and I gave that to him, and then I never got the disc back. So, and now it's worth like $100.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you got the raw end of the deal there, because I think Resident Evil Zero is worth like $5 maybe.
Right.
And that Zelda Master Quest disc, see, that was only given out as a pre-order thing for the Wind Waker,
right.
So it's an actual rare disc. And Zero, a bunch of people bought those. Like, that's like most Resident Evil games aren't really that expensive. Like, you can probably get them for pretty cheap, but especially Zero.
Right.
Like, but yeah, that sucks, because what happened to me is I ended up selling that. You know, I had the one, I remember I got the one from Nintendo Power or whatever, the one that has like Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 on it, and Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. And I also had the one that came with Wind Waker that had the Ocarina of Time and the Master Quest. And I think I sold both of those, which is stupid because they're both worth like a good amount of money. But
how much did you get for them?
I don't know. Probably nothing.
Not enough.
I think I traded them in for Twilight Princess, probably, because I'm an idiot. But, you know, because I didn't have any money at the time and I wanted to play that game. But that's that. Is there anything else that you guys have been playing for the past week? Or do you want to move on to the news?
That's about it.
Yeah, I've basically just been playing, Mario Odyssey more and Blades of Steel.
Anybody been going back to the Animal Crossing game?
Not really.
My phone broke, so no.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've been going back here and there.
My phone broke for like 4 days, so I've been pretty much not doing anything on the phone. So I haven't. But I know Jess has been playing it still. I think she's coming around to it more. I think she kind of likes it more than she did last week. But I think she's like a level 20 now or something like that. I think she's put a lot into it.
Oh, she put a lot into it. Yeah, I think I'm a 7.
I think I made it to, maybe not that far. She might be in the teens. But I think I made it to level 3. I was a level 2 last week, so you know, that happened. So, you know, I haven't really been playing it at all.
The more I play it, though, like, I still like the game. The more I play it, though, I'm just getting more upset. It's like cold-hearted. I don't know if you want to call it like, it's a materialistic view of friendship.
Oh yeah, where they keep wanting you to buy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's upsetting me more and more. But I mean, as a game, it's still fun to me. But if you look at it on its face for, you know, if you're trading goods for friendship, it's pretty cold.
Yeah. No, it just showed me like her campsite, and there's basically nowhere you can go because there's like 30 people there. And I'm like, this looks terrible. I'm like, you're totally right. You're going to have to you have to go camping away from your campsite because there's so many people here now.
I found one funny thing though about all the animals staying there. So people have been modifying their camps into prisons.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. That's the thing going on. People are building prisons and their animals are just hanging out in their prisons. And
it reminded, when I saw those screenshots, it reminded me of The Sims when people would do that.
Oh, The Sims where you like put them in a room with no door and they can't pee and they get all angry.
Yeah, that's what they die eventually, but they like urinate and poop all over the place.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Where you can just like make them go crazy. You know, like build houses that have no doors and they just don't know what to do. It's fun stuff. Didn't you go to a barcade also, John? I think you
did. Yeah,
a picture.
I went to a barcade here in LA called Bar 82, it's awesome. I've been to a handful of barcades, and this is the best one that I've been to. They had, I want to say, about 25 to maybe 30 arcade machines, and then a whole nother room just for pinball with another like 20 pinball machines.
Yeah, a lot of them have them divided here too.
Yeah, and there's the way they have it arranged is it's like 2 buildings, and then the center is an open air courtyard. People just hang out and talk and whatever. But what I really love about it, the whole barcade idea, is that you get the people who would go out to a bar and the people who want to stay home in one place. So it's really a great hangout. It's for everybody. If you're in LA, I'd recommend it. Bar 82. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, barcades are weird. Like, one time I went to a barcade with Conan, like when they were still kind of new here. You know, we went over to, Emporium. It's where I met the Fuchsia when she was on here a few weeks ago. I met her there because they had a Splatoon party there, Splatoon 2. But, this was when, Emporium was new. And Conan and I went over there just to hang out. And we played, they have NBA Jam, so we played like a game of NBA Jam, you know, Conan and I did. And it was like fairly close. And we were like all getting into it and having a good time. And we were like, all right. And then we like ended our game. I was like, all right, that was fun. And then there's this guy like standing behind us that was like watching the whole game. And he's like, he like hands us some quarters and he's like, here, can you guys want to play another game? And I'm like, okay. That was really
He just wanted to watch?
Yeah, he wanted to watch us play. So he gave us like $2 and I think he was going to like keep just giving us money to play. And we were like, oh, we're going to play another game. Cause we did play another game for him. He's like, do you want to play more? Like, I'll give you coins. And I'm like, I think I'm going to try another arcade machine. But it was really strange. This like weird shadowy guy was like standing by the arcade being like, here, play some more NBA Jam. Here's some, and I was like, what, you don't want to play? And he's like, oh no, I like watching other people play. And I'm like, all right, cool. Either you're being like a good Samaritan or you're being like really creepy.
That's
I don't
really
know.
Weird.
It's like one or the other. So I don't know. That was just a really strange, my first strange barcade experience right there. Some weird dude just handing out coins to people to get them to play NBA Jam. So
maybe he was like a rep from Midway. I was just hanging out.
They're not around.
Well, maybe they're not, but maybe
nobody told him.
He used to be a rep for Midway. Does it? Yeah.
He wants to remember when Midway was a company, because they went under in
Living
the recession.
Glory days.
Yeah.
When he turned around to look at him, did he have a single tear rolling down his cheek?
Maybe.
Did he have a denim vest?
No, I think he was wearing a trench coat, which I think was why I remember him as a shadowy character.
It was definitely not the boss then.
Oh boy.
It was weird. Yeah. Do you want to move on to the news then?
Let's do it.
All right. So there's not a whole lot of news this week. One big thing I think is Yooka-Laylee has a release date finally.
Finally.
Yeah. So it's coming out the day before our live show on the 14th of December. So maybe we'll have to postpone our live show so we can play Yooka-Laylee or something. What do you think? I checked the eShop. There's no price point for it yet, or if there is, I don't know. But what do you think? It's going to end up being like 40 or less? What are your predictions on this?
It'll probably be 40, I'd imagine.
Yeah, 40.
Yeah, that seems pretty high for like we've been talking about. $20 is like the magic number for indies on the eShop. That's like kind of what I like. I don't mind.
I just think it started at 40 on everything else.
Yeah. And it will release for that, but it'd be cool if they could release it for 20, just because it's like, I know it's supposed to be the definitive version or whatever, but I'm wondering how many people are going to get it now that it's after the release of Mario Odyssey and all that stuff.
Right.
That plus all the reviews haven't been so hot on it, and so I'm wondering if that took off a little bit of the interest.
Yeah, it wasn't really reviewed very well. But I still want to play it. I don't know if I want to play it for 40, but we'll see what's happening on that week. Isn't like Mario Versus supposed to come out that week too? I think. We forgot to mention it last week.
Mario Versus?
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers Verse. The arcade.
Oh shit, that's coming out next week?
No, it's the 22nd.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll be out on the 22nd. So it'll be after Yooka-Laylee. That's still some weeks in the future. I don't know. Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. The other news is the cereal, Super Mario cereal, is it?
Super Mario cereal, I think it's called. Yeah, I think that's it.
It's not Amiibos or Amiibo-Os or whatever.
No, it's not Amiibo-Os.
Yeah, it shouldn't be called that. But it does have an Amiibo in it, right? Like in the box?
The box itself is an Amiibo.
Yeah. So you can do you have to keep the whole box around to scan on your Switch, or can you just cut a part off of it? I'm sure you can cut a part off of it, and that's like the Amiibo that you have. But does that mean that you're not going to be able to find the cereal anywhere? Just like the Amiibo?
Probably so.
Oh, they'll just all disappear. I mean, it's got marshmallows in it. Look tasty from what I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. You have to wait in line for it.
Well, I'm buying one to keep and one to eat. How about that?
I thought you were going to buy one for you and 3 others for your nephews and brothers-in-law and all that stuff.
Oh, maybe I will. That would actually be my first Amiibo. I don't own an Amiibo. So maybe that'd be kind of cool. My first Amiibo is a box of cereal.
I'm surprised you haven't bought one just to buy one. Or maybe were you ever you probably weren't ever a toy collector or anything like that, John?
I got some action figures and things. I don't know. I've not really had a place to put them up on display and, so I'll
I figured
maybe I'll get some.
I figured you would have bought a Link or something like that if you saw one, just like one. I mean, they're not that big. I figured you would have got one. But, once you get one, you end up with like 50, like I have.
I think that's maybe what's keeping me back. Yeah. I think I will wait till I have an opportunity to buy like 10 of them and I don't want to have just one. You know what I mean? That's kind of lame. Just have one sitting up there.
Yeah, but they're cool. I mean, they're cool looking. You can have just one and it's fine. I mean, if you can hold yourself back from not getting any more.
I don't think I could hold myself back.
But they do look super awesome, and I figured you would have gotten...
I've had a good time holding myself back. Like, I just get the ones I like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I figured that you would have bought like a Breath of the Wild Link, or like maybe you would have gotten like the Ocarina of Time Link.
I almost bought a Guardian today. Used, or I guess it would be yesterday with at Disc Replay, but they had a used Guardian they were selling for 20.
And what are they normally? 30?
They didn't have the package or whatever, but
how much are they normally?
I'm not sure.
I thought they were.
I saw one for like 27 or something.
Yeah,
one of the big ones.
Yeah, no, those Guardians look really cool, but they're so expensive.
I thought about buying it. I almost did. I was really close to buying it.
Yeah, the last ones I got was the ones from Jess, the Metroid ones. But the last one that I actually bought was the Cloud that I randomly found, like when I got Mario plus Rabbids. So I don't know.
The last one I bought was the Squid Girl, the Ink Girl, because she was on clearance.
Yeah.
I think I paid like $5.
Speaking of stuff like Ukulele, speaking of stuff that's on the week of our live show, there's a thing apparently that's on the day of our live show. Namco Bandai is going to host an event on December 15th. 5 unannounced games will be shown off during the event. Nintendo will have a big presence at the event. What I saw, somebody tweeted it.
I'm calling it right now, Dino Wars. The new Dino Wars.
Dino Wars 3D on Switch. That would be pretty amazing if that was what...
That was made by Bandai.
Yeah.
And they haven't revisited it since 1991, so it's time.
Due for a remake. All right.
Yeah.
Would you want a remake or would you want a new Dino Wars game?
I would like one of those, like, it'd be a new game, but you could unlock the original.
I'd like that, yeah.
Yeah. That's what they should have done with that DuckTales remake. Should have been able to
new DuckTales, but then you can unlock the remake of the original. I like that.
Yeah, no, I would have bought it if you could unlock the original game, because that's all I really want, is the original DuckTales, because that's the game, They should put that on Switch. I mean, I know it was already on Wii U, but put it on there. Switch it up. Put it on there.
I'd really like at the Bandai event if they announced that they're bringing Mario Kart VR to the United States. Oh, they're the ones that made that game, that Mario Kart VR game.
Oh, did they?
And they did, yeah. They actually own the arcade that it's playing at in Japan. But I would love to see that somewhere here in the United States.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, that'd be cool. There's this weird rumor that I saw, people saying that Namco Bandai are the ones that are doing the new Metroid Prime. I was hoping that wasn't true, because, I don't know. It just makes me think...
Prime.
It just makes me think of, Team Ninja did, the great Other M that everybody didn't love. So, I mean, I guess the idea of a Japanese company doing another 3D Metroid just kind of makes me cringe just because of Team Ninja. I don't know. It'd be great if they could get the guys who did Doom to do it. Like, I would totally be into that. But
that is funny that in the case of Metroid, you'd rather it not be Japanese, but every other game pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Would you rather be a Japanese game if it's an adventure game or a...
Well... Japanese, I mean, that's...
Anything special.
It's kind of dumb because, Metroid is a Japanese game originally.
Yeah.
But, Retro Studios did so well with it, and Team Ninja didn't, that it's kind of like... But Namco Bandai doesn't really seem like a company that I could think of anything great that they did aside from Dino Wars. I mean, really.
Tales of Symphonia.
Yeah, well, they also, I mean, aren't they the guys who are doing...
Let's mention Pac-Man.
Recently. I'm like, what have you done for me lately is what I'm saying here.
All right, Miss Jackson, what has Namco done for us lately?
Well, I think what was the last thing they did was Fire Emblem Warriors. It's like, that doesn't seem Metroid right? Prime-y to me. Yeah, but those are fighting games. Those aren't like... Yeah. How many first-person shooters or first-person adventure games have they done? Is what I'm talking about for the most part. And the reason that I say, like, Japanese company is that they don't really make much of those games. That's not really big in Japan. Like first-person shooters, adventure games, whatever, aren't really big. So that's the only reason I say that. That would make more sense for American, I guess. Company. I don't know. But regardless, I really want to see it. Hopefully it's at a good time that's not like the same time as our live show, because then no one will watch us. They'll just watch that.
Or you could open us in a separate window and listen to us while you watch the other thing.
Well, if it was at the same time, we could do some sort of live reaction to it also.
We will. We'll pull it up on video if it happens while we're recording.
Yeah, so we can do that. But yeah, that's I think that's all the news that I have aside from releases and stuff. Is there anything I'm forgetting that you guys saw on the internets? Oh yeah, I mean there's a new demo. There's a demo for 9 Parchments. That's that game that's like Gauntlet Legends, which I downloaded the demo but I haven't played it yet. There's some games on sale. Mario plus Rabbids is on sale for $40, which is
I guess I'm just looking now on Reddit. It says that Odyssey sold the most of any game on Amazon, even though it's been out for the year 2017. It's only been out for a month, but it sold more copies on Amazon.
I believe
any other game.
I believe that.
Wow, yeah.
Yooka-Laylee is supposed to be less than a 6 gigabyte install. That's nice.
Oh, well, there you go. Major releases this week. Like I said before, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 are out now. You can buy them separately, digitally, or the weird, physical plus digital thing you can get. I know you haven't gotten it, John, but if you do have an extra $20, I highly recommend getting Resident Evil Revelations 1. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Just get 1, not 2.
I haven't played 2, so I can't recommend it. But I totally recommend Revelations 1. And it's totally worth $20. It's a whole game. It's pretty much imagine, playing, have you ever been man, Resident Evil's really fun, but I wish it was on a boat. That's basically what it is. It's it's like a mansion on a boat. Yeah. But it's great. It's an awesome game. I really, really like it, and I totally recommend it. At $20, it's totally worth it. I think you should get it.
Sure.
I wish
they'd do a deal for the 2, where if you got both of them, then you can get them both for $30.
Yeah.
Paying $40.
Well, I think the way that it is it's just the physical version is $40 for both of them, but you can just get either one for $20. I say if you haven't gotten one yet, I have one on 3DS, but for you who haven't played any of them, you should definitely get it. You should definitely get it, get the first one, because it's a return to form for Resident Evil, but you can actually walk and shoot, it has the right third person shooting controls finally.
Oh, that's good.
But it's survival horror. It's not like the action mess that Resident Evil turned into later. They actually kind of go back to what they're doing, and Jill's in it, and there's all sorts of weird zombie things and all that stuff, and it's cool. It looks really nice too. It looked really, really good on 3DS, and then they upscaled it, and now there's the HD version. But I totally recommend it. I think you'd like it, so you should definitely check it out. And $20 is a good price for that, for just to jump into Resident Evil again. So
it is. I think it's a good price for that.
Hopefully get sales. If I had
I think I played it first on the 360 and then played it on the
3DS.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I didn't get my 3DS until it was about 2 years. It had been out for about 2 years before I got a 3DS.
Oh, okay. I thought it was released for Xbox One, or was the Xbox One out by then? I don't even know.
I don't know. It may
the Resident Evil
be on that too. Because it was on the 360. For sure.
Oh, it must have gotten released at the same time, because the Revelations HD one was released way after the 3DS one was out. So the 3DS one came out first, and it was an exclusive.
Yeah.
A time exclusive. And then the HD ones came out way later, because the HD came out for Wii U and all that stuff. But Revelations was one of the first games that I really wanted to play on 3DS. It was a very early release for that system.
A lot would say it's got the best graphics still of any 3DS game.
It looks good.
I remember being really impressed by the graphics when I saw the videos.
Well, there was a free demo you could get on 3DS of it. So, I played it.
That.
I played it and I was like, holy shit, this looks great. And it was probably
still up.
You can tell that it's one of the first games that I got because, it's a physical, because I got the physical copy of it. Because I think I bought it before I figured out the eShop, or maybe it wasn't available in the eShop yet, because I know they released it digitally later. Anyway, get it. It's an awesome game. Should totally check it out. I'm saying this to you and to all the people listening to this. I think it's great. What else? Let's just go through real quick what we have.
I did find another piece of news that we didn't mention.
What's that?
Stardew Valley finally got updated.
Oh yeah, does it have the 2-player now?
But not with 2-player. Nope.
There's such teases.
But guess what? That audio crackle is gone. The audio crackle was kind of annoying. And if you listen to any of my YouTube or my Twitch stuff that I've done with it, that crackle is up there. It was a glitch.
Yeah. Is it? Oh.
But the other big thing is that you can now use the recording feature.
Oh, okay. So you can do the 30-second stuff?
Yep.
Cool.
So that's kind of cool. I mean, it's a little tiny step towards, I don't know, I already think it's a great level. Or a great game. I want them to add more content. That'd be great if they did. Now
that you played the fuck out of it,
yeah,
ready for more stuff?
Yeah, I'm ready for more quests. I'm done. But I'm gonna start playing Xeno here in 2 days, and I'll be okay.
Well, Xeno will be out Thursday night if you pre-order it digitally, which we both did. So be playing it at 11 Thursday night.
Shit, I'll be playing it tomorrow.
Pretty much when this will hopefully go up before that, so I won't be editing when it's out. World Heroes comes out tomorrow, Neo Geo. That's their their new thing. There's a Gear Club Unlimited that's coming out in the first also. There's a Siberia 2, Opus, Serial Cleaner. Serial Cleaner looked kind of cool. It was kind of like the same art style as that Wheels of Aurelia, except you get to kill a bunch of people. It's a Star Ghost. Blaze through waves of enemies as you confront the evil Megaton Empire. That's like a shooter. It's an Opus game. Dive into a boundless galaxy as you go on a heartfelt adventure. And then Xeno. That's pretty much it. Nine Parchments comes out next week, but there's a demo out for it now. So there's that. There's a bunch of sales and shit. Anyway, that's good for the news. We'll move on to our topic.
I think so.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. All right, so 20-year anniversary for the first great wrestling game on Nintendo 64. Probably the first wrestling game on 64 also. I don't remember if there was another one. If there was, it's not even worth remembering. But this game was pretty monumental. We're talking about WCW versus NWO is celebrating its 20th anniversary, released November 30th, 1997, 20 years ago.
Exactly 20 years ago.
I was 17. Yeah, I remember that game coming out. It was probably one of the first wrestling games for 64, or at least the first one worth mentioning. There might have been
the first one.
Well, there might have been a bad WWF game that came out. Or maybe it was after that. I don't know. I think it was the first one, but it definitely set.
I remember this being the very first one, and I got it for Christmas that year. I was not a wrestling fan at the time. I mean, I enjoyed wrestling as a kid growing up, but this game just like blew my mind because you could have 4 players in there at once. And It was just such a fun, like a pure fun game.
Well, something that I remember being really weird about this game was because, it's a super fun game, but I had just gotten into wrestling again. Like I loved wrestling when I was a kid, like in the 80s. And then I started watching wrestling again in the 90s. And I found out that all of my favorite wrestlers from the 80s basically had all been bought up by WCW. So now they were all on WCW now. So I started watching WCW because like Hulk Hogan and like Randy Savage and Mr. Perfect and like everybody pretty much from the 80s was on there because, apparently Ted Turner had a ton of money and he just went and bought a bunch of them and put them on there. But, or gave them like new deals and paid them more money or whatever. And I was watching that and I remember like being super excited about this game coming out. But by the time when it came out, like a lot of the wrestlers that were in there were wrestlers that were not there anymore. Like it was not really updated to the current wrestling roster, and it was kind of like I was like, who the fuck is Six? Because like he wasn't there. He had already left to go be X-Pac in WWF, and like the fake Sting from NWO. Like I missed all that, so it was kind of like it must have been in development for so long that some of the stories were stuff that had happened years ago. Because some of the characters that were in there were like I didn't know, and I'm not even talking about the other ones like the DOA and the Independent Union that were completely different things. So I remember that catching me off guard at first. But aside from that, the game's fun as hell to play. And then once Revenge came around, then everything was like solid. You know, then it had all the new characters and all that.
Yeah.
Well, it had the actual newer versions of everybody. Cause like the artwork for the characters in this game is god awful. Like the pictures, I don't know if you saw that in the video, but they're so fucking funny. Like they do not look like their characters at all. There's not like a single picture, like actual picture of the wrestler. There's just like these really bad hand-drawn ones that it shows, like when you pick them, and they look like nothing like them at all. It's so bad. I wanted to explain it once I put the video up that I'm doing for it, but this game very much looks like all the stuff aside from the actual graphics of the wrestler looks like it was made on like an old computer, you know, like just with like regular flash animations. Cause it's just
the crowd cracked me up.
Well, the crowd is its own
frame animations.
Yeah. Well, the crowd is its own thing, but I'm talking about like the intro. It's just like these big white letters that's like the most primitive animation you can do. Like when you beat the game, it's like newsflash. this guy, like it's very much like low budget on the presentation aside from the actual match. So it's pretty hilarious, but they fixed all that stuff in the next game. But this one's like, seemed like they made it on a shoestring budget. Like they pretty much put everything into the actual wrestling mechanic, which is, what made it great and what basically changed wrestling games. I don't think anything has ever been as good as this, ever. Like as like the engine that they had for this. And I don't know if you guys...
I think that, if you play a wrestling game today, it, basically built off of what this game did.
But it never was as good as this. Like it's similar, but it's not the same. Like I've played new wrestling games and none of them ever got the Aki like engine right. Because I don't know if you know, but the company who made this, they make Style Savvy games. They just made a game like last week for 3DS. That's what they do now. They make it. I mean, they're great games because they're awesome developers, but what the hell? Like it's I guess they went
from like macho wrestling to making pretty dresses.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but because they did I don't know if you played any of the GameCube versions of these games, but those games are fucking awesome. Like Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam Vendetta's Streets of New York or Fight for New York or whatever it's called. That game's fucking awesome. Like that's like one of my favorite like third-party GameCube games. Like it's so much fun. Like Henry Rollins is in it and he like trains you and you make your own character and you make this like street brawler. It plays like so well. Like you fight Snoop Dogg in the end in a burning building. It's like it's like fun as hell. Like that game is so cool. And then there's the Ultimate Muscle one also. The Japanese, they did a Japanese county port of it as well, which I got last year for Christmas from Jess, which is also a fucking rad game. So like, they did all these cool things on GameCube after, and then the last thing I heard was there's that Def Jam Icon game for 360, which went under. And I don't know if they had any involvement with that, but that was like the last thing I heard of any of that stuff. And then it just kind of went to Style Savvy, I guess. I don't know when they went to Style Savvy, but it's crazy that the company is like still together. They just don't do wrestling stuff, but they did wrestling so well. Like it's like, can't somebody like throw them some money and be like, hey dude, make a kick-ass game? Because they did it. Like I basically followed like every game that they made after this. Like I got, even when I didn't watch WWF, like I bought the WWF games that they made because they were fucking great. Like you don't have to know any of the characters. Like the game played so well and had so, like the single player was so much fun to play that it's like, I don't care. They could have made a game with like, with like McDonald's characters in there or something and I still would have bought it, with the same fucking wrestling and the same like,
pay to watch that.
Yeah. If they still had the same wrestling engine in there, they could put any fucking character in there and I would still buy the game. Like, even if it was like Trump and his people, whatever, I'd still buy it because it has that great, wrestling engine in there. That's how awesome those guys were at making games like this. Like I would buy whatever, whether I had any interest in the characters at all, I know the game was gonna play well and be fun as hell. So
it just felt good.
I thought, wasn't there eventually a wrestling game where you could create a character, or was that not until GameCube?
No, you could create your own character in WrestleMania 2000 and on.
Right.
So you can make your own guy in 2000 and No Mercy. No Mercy was the only one I actually didn't buy, believe it or not. For whatever reason, I was out of money.
Just list all the N64 wrestling games. There was WCW, NWO World Tour. What was the one after that?
Okay, so like these are the ones that I know of that I've had. There was WCW versus NWO World Tour. That's the first one that we're talking about. Then there was WCW NWO Revenge. That's probably my favorite one out of all of them. Then they switched to WWF. So then it was WWF WrestleMania 2000 was after that, and WWF No Mercy was after that. And then they went to Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam Fight for New York and the Ultimate Legend New Generations. But there also, I think they did some PlayStation ones for Ultimate Legend as well. I don't know about that, but those are all the Nintendo ones that I have that I know of. But
that's a pretty good run. They have 4 great wrestling games within 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, well, on the 64 there were 4 games for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, and it was it's kind of crazy that I think WWF found out that they made such great games and they're like, how much money do you need? We'll buy you out. Like what do we have to pay you to get this?
So this game was 4 players out of the box, like.
Yeah, 4 players out of the box.
Yeah. So that was a big focus of a lot of early N64 games was to use up the 4 controller slots. So that's pretty cool that they released multiple games that were 4-player wrestling games.
Right? Yeah, I think one thing that was really, really cool about the game too was that it was 4-player and you're all on the same screen. There's no split screen stuff.
No split screen. Yeah, you're in the same ring.
You're in the same ring. There's no camera angles that you have to deal with. It's pretty much just one angle. I mean, if you play single player, the angles move around the characters and all that if it's just one-on-one. But yeah, it's just one set camera and just all of you in the ring, and it's just amazing like how much control you had over the opponent in this. Like that was a big thing for me. Like you can grab a guy, you can knock him on the other side of the rope, you can grab him on the rope and like throw him into the turnbuckle and then climb the turnbuckle and jump on him and then grab a chair and then like beat him with a chair. There's like just so much shit that you could do that you could never do in a game before that. You know, I don't remember ever playing a wrestling game where I could pull a chair out of the crowd and beat somebody with it. You know, like on Super Nintendo, there were some interesting wrestling games, but there's nothing anything like that. You know, it's just like so insane, but like so awesome. You know, and you could pull like broken tables out of there and bats and stuff like that. And you know, if you go in the options and you turn on realism, your characters bleed. You can actually make them bleed, which actually became a thing that you could set later on Revenge, where you could make it to first blood matches to where you fight until one of the characters bleeds and you die, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, I just started playing it like on Monday, and I did a stream of it, and then I kept playing it after that actually, and the game's fucking fun as hell to play. Like I still really love playing it, you know, and it's like riding a bike. Like I still remember how to play the characters and control everybody, and I did have a hard time with the cruiserweight. Like I was trying to unlock everything and I couldn't beat the final cruiserweight where you fight all the guys. Like I kept getting killed on that because I don't really know the cruiserweight guys as much, and most of them I would just pick the power guys and just try to TKO everybody. Cause, I was gonna say who our favorite characters are, and, mine is Glacier had this move where he would kick you in the face, and you only have to do it like 2 times and your character gets TKO'd. So it's really easy to beat people with that character. But the move is basically Sweet Chin Music, which was Shawn Michaels' move from WWF, where he basically stands back and then kicks you in the face. But that was my guy. He was super easy to kill people. And if you play against anybody and you know how to do the special moves, he'll destroy you. Unless you turn off TKOs, and then it makes it a little bit harder, I guess. But he was my dude. Who was your dude, John?
Mine was Black Ninja.
Yeah, I tried playing with him a little bit. I was never really that great with the cruiserweight because I feel like most of their moves were pins, and that doesn't really, you know, that doesn't really help you, and doesn't help like bring down the character's health and all that. You need more power moves, and I had the same problem with like Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, who's in here, which I did play as, but I still kind of felt dirty playing as him almost because of all the shit that happened. I did love Chris Benoit when he was a wrestler. I thought he was an excellent wrestler, and it's a shame about all that shit that happened to him. But I think we talked about that in the when we talked about the N64 classic and all that. But did you play this much, Jeremy? I don't remember. I figured that you did at some point. But, or did you miss out?
I mean, there was a period of time in my life where I played a lot of these wrestling games between the 64 and the PlayStation, but it was always just like, you know, 1 or 2 matches at a time. I had never owned it myself. And I just would mash buttons, and sometimes I do okay. But, I just now own my first wrestling game, I guess. I bought it yesterday.
For 99 cents. Well, there's a whole, like, it's actually, what I love about this game is it's not really about mashing buttons. Unless you get into one of those things where you guys, like, grapple at the same time, and you do that, you mash buttons for that. But that's, like, the only time you do. Like, this is all about, like, reversals and stuff, and hitting R, like, for the most part, to reverse one thing or another. So,
what I liked, too, is that it's also about riling up the crowd. Like, you have the crowd meter, I forget what it's called.
Your spirit meter is what it's called.
Spirit meter, yeah. So I thought that was a cool addition that I had never seen in a wrestling game before that really played to what watching wrestling on TV was all about. It was all about the showmanship.
Yeah.
You had to like, you could jump up on the ropes and just sort of wave your hands in the air to get the crowd riled up, and that actually played into the gameplay and made you a better performer in the ring. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, basically, yeah, that's the way it would go. Well, if you've seen, like, professional wrestling, like, it'll be like one guy will have it for a while, and then there's a reversal, and then it turns over, and, you know, the back and forth between, like, the face and the heels and all that. And, yeah, you're right, it definitely does that. And, like, the way this game controlled, like I'd said before, the control was, like, so good on this. Like, this is what, like, made it a big deal for me. But every time you move the analog stick in the middle, that's how you do your cheer. But you hold the down C button to to jump, to climb the turnbuckle. And if you climb it and hit the stick, you can do that. You can wave to people like while you're doing that, and it's cool how many different ways you could combine stuff together. Like you could climb on the other side of the ropes and do the same thing. And your character would clap, like he was out, like he was doing a tag team or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like so many different options that I felt you had full control over. And yeah, if you stand in one area and just keep posing over and over again, your spirit will get higher and higher until it turns to special, and then your guy like flexes, and then you can do your move, like Glacier's sweet chin music or whatever the fuck he called it, and that's depending on what it was, that's pretty much how you would win, like with Glacier, you could just kick the guy in the face a couple times and then he's knocked out. And that's it. Like, that's why he was kind of a cheap character to play as. But against the computer, he's indestructible completely, But that was so much fun. And there's different ways. They got more crazy into it later, like in like a Revenge in 2000 and all that. But you could do two versions. Like, there was the back grapple that you had a special move, and there's a front grapple that you can do. But later they did it where some guys you could do like special turnbuckle moves, specials also. And once you get into like Ultimate Legend or Ultimate Muscle and all that, they like jump way high in the air and then spin around, and there's all these crazy cutscenes and stuff like that. The Def Jam Vendetta kind of got like that too, where it started to get into moves that aren't really possible to do, but they became crazy finishing moves and all that. But another thing I really liked is like everything can be reversed. Like a punch can be reversed, like a block like a grab can be reversed, like a running attack can be reversed. Like you can everything can get turned around. Like it's almost kind of more of a strategy game than a button masher, Like if you hit the R button at the right time, you can turn anything. You can turn anything around. Like some guy jump kicks at you and you hit R, you can catch him and throw him on the ground. And then now they're on the ground. That's kind of like where the science of it came in to me. Or you can hold R to block, but where you can block punches, but if somebody tries to grab you, then you can't block that unless you hit it again, like when they start trying to throw you or whatever. It seemed like a kind of simple yet complicated system, I guess, that they had in there. And that's what I loved about it. And that's why I kind of wish they would just, make a game every year with the same system in it, and I would just keep buying it just because it's so much fun to play, If they would just do it, like I said, they could do it with anybody. Just put new characters in there or don't, whatever, make one with the turtles in there. I'll buy it. It's just kind of how it works. It's like so much fun to play that doesn't even really matter who's in there, especially like when the WWF ones came around. They were still called WWF then. And you could make your own character. It didn't really even matter like who the wrestlers were in there. Like you don't care. You can make like Dr. Doom and Spider-Man or whatever, which I made like a bunch of comic book guys. I made a bunch of ECW characters. I made like Nintendo characters, whatever. You can make whoever you want and just have them all fight each other. And it was so much fun.
It was great. Yeah. To me, this was one of the first real party games. It was 1997. The 4-player thing was still a novelty, and
GoldenEye,
not a lot of people.
GoldenEye had come out already. Because it was released a few months ago, yeah. Because I did do a 20th anniversary video of that one. So that one is already out.
GoldenEye, WCW, these are the games that you would be playing in 1997 if you were a 15-year-old boy and you had 3 other friends around. Like, it was just the best time. I can remember sitting in my basement with not just 4 people, but like 6 or 7 or 8 people all sitting around the TV, just having the best time. Beating the crap out of each other. And like you said, you weren't doing it on like split screen. You didn't have to sacrifice the frame rate or anything for everybody to have a good time. It was just one screen. Everybody was watching what everybody else was doing.
Yeah, and there was no you're looking at my screen or anything like that, like in the GoldenEye.
Yeah, it didn't matter. We're all looking at the same screen. So it was amazing. I loved it. I loved this game for that reason. Gave me a lot of good times with my friends.
Oh yeah, and I had to have gotten this for Christmas because it's like coming out at the end of November, like right before the holiday season. Like I don't know what else I could have wanted at this time. And like I said, I was getting into wrestling again. I think I'd already been into it for a while. So, and I was 17, when it came around. So yeah, I remember playing the shit out of it, and I remember being super excited for Revenge, but that came out when I was in college already because I remember specifically getting that. But yeah, no, it's totally right. And it was like another thing that we would play, 4-player, and it's, once we figured out how to get the chairs out of the audience, and we'd turn off like the we'd turn off the count out, like outside of the ring, so we could just stay out there the whole time and beat the shit out of each other. And turn
turn off the count.
And turn on the realism, so like you get all bloody, and turn off the TKO so you can't knock each other out. So I think we had it turned down to where like you could only pin people. And they were like, I think we turned off the rope breaks, and there was like no submissions and all that. So we had a specific way that we played it. But yeah, it was so much fun to play. And they were like, so there was the WCW and the NWO on there, which had regular wrestlers, but there also were these other factions that they made. There was the DOA and Independent Union, which I always thought the Independent Union was like the ECW guys, but I guess they were different guys. But what was it? DOA was supposed to be like Japanese wrestling, I think, right? Is that like who those? Because they were that was where like Black Belt was, right? He was in or Black Ninja was because Black Belt's a different guy. Taka Michinoku, who was a WWF wrestler later.
So it says DOA looks like it's a substitute for something called FMW.
Yeah, it's the It was.
I'm looking at the wrong one.
According to
Independent Union is Michinoko Pro.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, it was like where they said it was the martial arts something. What's the FM whatever? Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling is what the FMW is.
The other one is Michinoko Pro Wrestling, also known as Northeastern Wrestling. It's a lucha libre professional wrestling promotion.
Yeah, it also
founded by the Great Sasuke in 1993.
Okay, and Great Sasuke is Black Belt, right? Or no, Black Ninja. Sorry. Yeah, I never really played as those guys much because I was more into the actual wrestlers. But some of them were like I remember Powder Keg. He was pretty hard to take down, and some of them are like so like kind of racist. Like there's two characters in there called Kimchi and Dim Sum, which is pretty much terrible. Like, that's almost as bad as like, Dr. Ying and Kid Yang or Kid Ying and Dr. Yang from,
or the entire roster of Punch Out.
Yeah, well, I mean, the original release of Legend of the Mystical Ninja, they, when they didn't really translate the names right, they were basically called Kid Ying and Dr. Yang, which is like, how much more racist can you get than that, Yeah. But that's the same thing with like Kimchi and Dim Sum as being characters. It's like,
it's like some pizza pasta stuff.
Yeah, right. Like,
that's as far as I got in the arcade was to pizza pasta.
In Punch Out?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, have you played much of the version that you got, Jereme? The 99-cent one?
I played it with my friend last night a little bit. I didn't play any one-player mode, but my friend, is really good at it. He used to play it all the time, so.
Yeah.
He kicked my ass, and therefore I'm a little sour on the game initially, but if I play it more, I might like it more.
He didn't,
I feel these games definitely feel like they're meant for multiplayer. You're not going to have as much fun trying the one player experience with these.
I mean, it's fun. I had a good time just going through and unlocking the characters. Cause you get basically a new character for every single player mode that you do. So you can go through like WCW, heavyweight or cruiser. You'll get a new character for either of those. I mean, for one or the other. You don't get two, but, and then you'll unlock another thing and then you get more characters for that. So I did that for my stream and that was fun, just to do that for a while to get all your extra dudes. But yeah, the main fun of it is in the 4-player, of course. But, your friend should have maybe taught you how to play, or instead of just beating the crap out of you. That's not cool.
We played for a little while, and eventually, we did the whole thing where you just stand far apart, and he'd tell me the buttons to press and stuff.
Yeah.
I learned how to grapple and how to counter attack or whatever, where you match it.
Yeah, with the R button.
Started to figure it out, but we only played for about 30 minutes, and then we played something else after that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool,
that was my experience.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you had a sour experience. You should, try it again with, somebody who's a little bit less.
I mean, it's gotta be a pretty amazing game. It was, 99 cents.
Well, I mean, it's like most sports games with the newer versions I don't think those wrestling games are really worth that much because so many of them have been made over the years. It's kind of like Madden, it's like trying to buy Madden 94 or whatever. It's like nobody cares, because they want Madden 20 or whatever. This isn't out yet, but.
And I would argue 97 was one of the peaks of popularity for wrestling. I remember people, I would have been in high school at the time, and there were people who had backyard wrestling leagues and stuff back then.
I can remember, it seemed to me wrestling went away late 80s, early 90s, and then did come back around 97, 98. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it didn't necessarily go away. You just didn't see it. But I mean, I
think
that
it went away. Yeah, you know what I mean. It became more popular.
Well, I mean, like I said, definitely. Yeah, that's what, because I was big into it in the 80s, and I actually got out of it because I found out it was fake when I was a kid. I found out that it was all planned or whatever, and I'm like, oh, fuck that. But then later in life, I started watching it because it was fake, because it was all like theatrical and like fun and all that, and all the guys I liked in the 80s were wrestling again in the 90s in WCW, so maybe that's might have been why a lot of it switched over. I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty big then. I remember being
so disheartened when I found out wrestling was fake. I so believed it that, like, I can remember Hulk Hogan fought Earthquake, and the storyline went that Earthquake, like, crushed him and sent him to the hospital, and he was, like, out for a couple matches and whatever. And I remember finding out that Hulk Hogan was in the hospital, right? And after that wrestling show, we went to my visit my grandparents. Were in the car, and on the way to driving over to my grandparents, I can remember praying for Hulk Hogan. Like, I said a prayer in the car. Please God, like help Hulk Hogan, make him better, and, you know, don't let him die. And I just remember being so into it that I was actually praying for him. And then when I found out that wrestling was fake, it's like finding out Santa Claus was fake. It was just like, oh man.
You're like, I've been lied to.
I've been lied to, right? Yeah. But then you come back around, and now I'm able to see it for, not that I'm not a wrestling fan now, but now I do see the art and the sportsmanship in it.
Yeah, you see it for the performance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I liked about it the second time around. I enjoyed the, like, you know, just how much, the performance. And I like the wrestlers that were more technical later. You know, I was like, I got into less of cause Hulk Hogan's not that great of a wrestler. I mean, you know, I got into the ones that were more like, you know, the high flying ones, or the guys who did more technical stuff. But, I just wanted to talk about just the way this game works, like the control system. We've been talking about how great it is, but we haven't really talked about how it actually works. And it's just, basically what you do is you, like, you know, it works on the way you press the buttons. Like, you either tap A to do like a quick grab, and then you push a direction up, down, left, or right on a B or A, and you do a different move for each of those directions, even though I think left and right are the same as just hitting it by itself. But yeah, it's like all these different things. And then if you, like, can hold it and grab somebody, which is easier to get out of with the reversal, then you can do higher moves in the same way by pressing A or B in directions. Then it's very much like Smash Brothers, you know, just with its simplicity in moves, in a moveset, you know, that basically anybody can pick it up. Anybody can play it, but in order to, like, learn it and get great at it, you actually have to play the characters and learn, like, which moves, you know, are the more powerful moves, like where the pin moves are and all that. And when I was actually playing it this time, it took me a few matches to figure out how to pin again. You know, I'd forgotten how to pin, because you have to hit, like, R and C down at the same time to pin, and I couldn't figure that out for a minute. So the first few matches I would just knock people out. You know, and I couldn't figure out how to do the pin stuff. But it's same thing with, like, punching. You know, you can punch, or you can hold punch for a harder punch. And I know, like, as you're standing up, you can hit R to, like, duck down and, like, attack the guy on your way up, which is always a good way to recover and all that. But it's just like a good, simple like move set, but, you know, complicated to learn and know everybody's, like, ins and outs and, like, who has the stronger moves. And that's what was fun about just playing through it, is just learning the characters like you would in any fighting game, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
One of the most satisfying things I can remember about the controls was how good it felt once you're grappling to throw your enemy across the ring. I remember feeling like that was just, like, so satisfying when you overpowered him and you could throw him, and then he'd run into the ropes.
Oh yeah.
And then
you can catch him on the way back
2 or 3 times or whatever. You could just knock him out, clothesline him.
Yeah. Well, you can, like, catch him. You can, like, throw him on the way back, or you can hit him, or you can run into him. There's, like, all these different options that you can do, you know, for each character, which is pretty cool. And if you guys, like, run into each other, you do that thing where, like, they move their heads and, like, stare at each other. It's pretty funny. I remember that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like what all can we really say about this game that, like, hasn't already been said?
Right.
I know that
I voted for this for the topic because I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this game and how important it was as far as wrestling games. Like, this really, if you've not played this game and you like wrestling games today, you owe it to yourself to go give this a try. And I think you'll be surprised just how familiar it feels. Just because I think every single wrestling game, even 20 years later, has this as its core.
Well, yeah, but not as good. It never ever made it as good as this, which is unfortunate. Like, I played the GameCube, the later GameCube wrestling stuff, and after these guys were out, and it's just, yeah, it's somewhat there, but it's not it still was never as good. And that new, the 2K, whatever, the WWE 2K18 that's supposed to come out at some point for the Switch, I don't think it's going to be as good at this, and it's still going to make you sad. But yeah, if you have a 64, like Jeremy was saying, you could buy this for like 99 cents. It's like super cheap, really easy to get to, like super, like nobody really cares that much. I mean, I could probably buy No Mercy like for $5 on eBay right now if I wanted to, you know. But it's a lot of fun to play. Like, you'll still have a lot of fun with it. And I think it's aged fine, you know. I mean, like I said, like it's very, very bare bones for this first one, but the control is still there and the fun is still there, so it's still totally worth it to get into. But yeah, and there's those extra wrestlers that are on there that are named after different people, you know, like we said, that became wrestlers later, which is kind of weird. But in the one after that, they actually brought it up to date and then made the graphics better. And then of course they ended up ending like entrances and theme songs, and then later you can make your own character, make your own entrances, like change camera angles, all that fun stuff. That's what 2000 was a lot of fun of, was making your own dude. And, you know, it was mostly you could just use the ones that were already in there, but you could still create your own guy, which I had a lot of fun with. I sunk a lot of hours into those games, but they were very fun. And I wish that, I know that Style Savvy's their thing now, but maybe when the 3DS like goes under, you know, which it probably maybe has a year left at the most, maybe they can get back into some wrestling stuff for the Switch. I would love to see that. If Aki could come back in a real way after Style Savvy's hit the dust, you know. But yeah, I can't really think of much else to say about it than what we already had. Is there anything more you want to say, John or Jeremy, about the topic?
Go play it.
Before we sign out?
I'd say play it. It's 99 cents.
Well, if you have a 64, of course. If you have a
64, get the game and play it. It's so cheap. It's less than you would pay to rent a game.
Basically all you would have to do is pay the price of a 64, right? If you don't have one, plus the 99-cent game, it's like pretty much getting it for free. Yeah. It's a shame that these were never re-released in any way digitally, but I mean, it's hard to, probably never will be, because especially like Chris Benoit being in there, that's a big touchy subject for WWE. And WCW, they're owned by WWE now and all that. You know, licenses, like all the different characters, you can't really use them on there, so it'll probably never see the light of day again, but I would love to see that engine re-released, which is any characters put in there. It'd be cool if WWE now could like get these guys to do it. Like, I would really love to see it again, but it's just pipe dreams. It'll probably never happen. But yeah, that's been our topic this week, 20th anniversary of WCW versus NWA. This has been episode 98 of NintenDomain Podcast. 2 away from our live show which we talked about, which is episode 100. We'll probably be doing that in the afternoon of Friday the 15th, so make sure and check that out. It'll be on YouTube, on YouTube/Fingmater. That's FINGMATER. That is our YouTube channel where you can check out, you know, video versions of the podcast episodes that we do, and other crazy stuff like Jeremy doing Hardu Boy stuff, and I'm going to put up a video about WCW versus NWO, and you can find hopefully be more reviews, and I'll do smaller versions of streams and stuff that I do and all that. And I also stream on Twitch Thursdays around 3 and Sundays around 3 Central Time, so you can check those out. Sundays are retro, Thursdays new Switch stuff. You can catch our podcast at NintenDomainPodcast.com. You can download us from any place that you get podcasts at. We're all over the place, or you could just Google NintenDomain Podcast. And if you like the show, you should subscribe and leave us a review. We always like seeing reviews. It's always good to hear. It'll help us get discovered by other people and all that fun shit. And we've been your hosts. I'm Trey Johnson.
I'm Jeremy Mikowski.
John Litter.
And we'll see you next week.
See you.
we take a real quick break? I gotta pee.
We're taking a quick break, and we'll be right back after Trey finishes peeing. Thanks for listening to the NintenDomain podcast. I'll talk to you here in a second when Trey's done peeing.